Hey fantasy fans, this is Dan here from TreeBeard Book Reviews, and today I'm going to be reviewing the second book in the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne, Valor. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so just before we get started here, I just want to say, thank you so much for continuing to watch my channel. As you can see, I'm kind of narrowing in on 100 subscribers. If you saw my last video or a few videos ago about my 100 subscriber giveaway for the Dark Tower series, please like and comment and subscribe. Hopefully we can get to 100 subs and we can give away those books. So now this one's gonna be a little different. Like, this is the second book in the series, Valor, right after Malice. So I'm gonna talk about spoilers. I want to talk about the things I liked about the book and the things I didn't like about the book. I'm not really going to get too much into the plot. I'll mainly kind of talk about that in the good and the bad section. So really I just want to get into what I liked about Valor. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so there's three things I really want to talk about that I really liked about this book. And the three things were the action, the characters, and the plot. So first I'm going to talk about the plot really, and how different this story is from Malice. So Malice, as you saw in my review, I'll put a link here and then the description below to my Malice review. It was so slow for me. There's so much character build up, and John Gwynne's trying to hit his stride, and it just took me a long time to really get invested in his characters. But in this one, he's like, nope, okay, you've had that character develop in Malice. Like, now we're going to get straight into the story, straight into the plot. We're not waiting around for anything. We're just going full tilt. And that's what I really appreciated with this book. It was so much faster than Malice. So many things were going on. You weren't waiting. There isn't really any large time jumps at all. So I really, really appreciated that about the plot. So continuing with what I liked with the plot, I said all the characters moved forward in this book, and they didn't feel like they kind of stagnated. I really liked Corban's development in this book and how his plot was kind of driving forward. He's traveling with his companions that survived the sacking of Arden, so he's moving along with them. Really enjoyed Corban's plot in this book. It's still kind of coming of age. He's really still trying to question himself, like, is he the chosen one? He doesn't feel like the chosen one. It's that typical chosen one trope where he's told he's the bright star by Gar and his mother, and then eventually by Maquin, who is one of the Ben Elim, like the angels that serve Elion. And so yeah, I do like that. I do love chosen one like tropes. Like, that's Wheel of Time is one of my favorite series, so I do love that trope of the chosen one. Here I don't think it was done as well. But Corban's story did have me a lot more interested in Corban in this book than I did in Corban and Malice. Corban and Malice, he's still really a kid. He's really, not getting into a lot of action. His story's like kind of going forward, but in the second one, it's like he doesn't have a chance to stop. He has to go. He's always on a mission. So I really enjoyed that with Corban. So following along with that family, there's Cohen. Cohen's in this book. I really enjoyed her POVs because she's really like that behind enemy lines. Like, she's looking at like Veridas and Nathair and Calidus and seeing what they're doing. And her chapters were really good. Like, they weren't as action filled, but they were really good for setting up, like, what's going on in the enemy, what are they thinking. And I really liked Cohen in this book. She was really interesting. There are some things I do want to talk about her in the negative. It doesn't really apply to her, but there are some negative parts in those POVs. But other than that, really like the plot with her. And the other thing I want to talk about too is, like I said, is the action. The action in this book, there's so much action going on. It was really non-stop. Like, they've escaped Arden with their lives. They're fleeing through the woods. They're being chased by Wolven, by Rin's men. They're fleeing to another capital to get safety. It was full tilt. Like, they did, like, Corban's group did not stop running the whole time, which it was really good because, like, you don't get a breather as a reader. So you're kind of like holding your breath and, like, hoping they escape. And it was really, really well done. And just that whole group that, had left, like, you have Daff, and then you have his friend. I can't remember his name, but he had that. He's wielding Corban's father's hammer. Pharaoh is his name. And then you have Gar and Camelin. So there's so many good characters in this group, like Gar and Camelin, where they're these mentor figures. And, Gar really starts becoming a mentor, or a further mentor to Corban. And, taking over that father role that, because Corban had just lost his father. And then Camelin, who's become like a father figure, training Daff with the bow even further. And it was so good. These two characters really helped, and they had so much, they brought so much action, because Gar's like this unbelievable fighter, and Camelin's this unbelievable bowmaster, and it was just, it was really good. I really enjoyed the action that those two characters brought. So, the one thing I really want to talk about was my favorite part of the story, my favorite plot line, my favorite character, and I just couldn't wait for those chapters, was Maquin. Oh my god, Maquin is such a good character. I love Maquin so much. He was good in Malice. He was my favorite character in Malice, and he became even better with in Valor with the death of Castell, because he's like, sorry, I need to take a drink here. Have a drink of my giraffe mug. You know it's serious when they got giraffe mug out. But yeah, so Maquin, so good, because he's on this revenge plot, this quest for revenge. And it's just this singular point in his mind to kill JL, who killed Castell, and it's so good. It's so flippin' good. And he meets his other character, or he knows his other character, Algal, and he has this axe, and they both get captured. He almost gets his revenge against JL, and he gets captured, and then he gets brought to the fighting pits. And he becomes a slave, and he has to row on these boats, and it's so freaking good. So he's rowing on these boats that are whipping him, and of all the 100 people who were became slaves, just him and Algal survived near the end. And there's one thing, it's kind of telegraphed that because he goes to become the slave, and it's almost kind of like Spartacus, where he becomes a slave and he has to fight for his freedom. And, he's going to fight Algal, so that's kind of telegraphed, you can see it coming a mile away. But holy cow, he's just such a cool character, and, the fight scenes that he describes in the pits, amazing. They're so good. I just love Maquin. He's such a good character. And then he runs off with Nathair's, mom. She was being abused, and he pretty much pulled her out of a bad situation, but oh man, it was so good. He's such a good character. That's the one thing I'm really thankful for. With continuing with this series, that I just really enjoyed this character of Maquin. I really enjoy these older characters a little bit more, like Maquin, Gar, Camelin, and maybe just because I'm older now. I just don't relate to these younger characters like Cohen or Veridas or Corban. They have young adult problems, right? Whereas these older characters have middle-aged problems, or my back hurts, or shit, I'm tired, that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed Maquin. So now I just really want to get into the things I didn't like about Valor. Okay, so now there's just a few things I want to talk about that maybe just didn't hit me the right way, or I just didn't really enjoy about Valor. And those things were really just some of the other POV characters that they introduced, like Fidel, which is Nathair's mom, and Uthas, he was a giant. And then there's just another POV character like Veridas. I just didn't care for any of these characters. Fidel, she was probably the most interesting of the three. She's Nathair's mom. She's kind of taken over as vassal of the kingdom after Nathair's gone. He's out searching for the cauldron. She runs into problems with Lycus, who's the leader of the sea folk kind of thing. And it really all these POV chapters like Uthas, you don't really know what's going on with Uthas. You don't know anything about him. You're kind of trying to figure it out. And just also with Veridas, he's such a boring character. He's so flipping boring. It's not even funny how boring he is. You read his stuff and you're just oh, you are so dumb and you are so boring, and I just don't care. I don't care if you live or you die, Veridas. You're just he's a good fighter, and it's just he just doesn't interest me. Like none of his like his personality traits or none of his what drives him. Like I just don't connect with it. I just don't care. And there's another thing I really dislike, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is that they're trying to clearly build a relationship between him and Cohen, like Corban's sister, and he always keeps thinking about her, and it's just like it felt so forced. It's almost like when you read Eye of the World and like Wheel of Time, when at the end Nynaeve's like, "I love you, Lan," and Lan's like, "I love you too," and it's just like, oh, it's so like it's just it came out of nowhere, and I'm like, this is dumb. I don't like that. So, yeah, that was like one of the things I really didn't like. And it just in general, I just don't like the character of Nathair. I usually like the bad guys. Like I like the bad guys in books. They're typically just more interesting, right? You know, they've had a lot more stuff happen to them. They have more experience. They have reasons for what they're doing. And Nathair is just like, you know, he's being like led astray by Kalidas, who's like one of the Catershim. Like you know that. But I just don't like him. And you know you're not supposed to like him as a villain, but you know you're supposed to like the villain a little bit. And he's just like, oh, you just want to punch him in the face, and it's just, which maybe John Gwynne did a good job with him, but I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't like Nathair. But yeah, there's really not a lot bad to say about this book. It's a great book, great pacing. So yeah, let's really just get into my rating. Okay, so let's just get into my rating for this book. One thing I want to say though, before we really get into my rating, is the ending of this book is great. There's a really good battle scene, because they're all chasing this cauldron, this black cauldron. So this is one thing I didn't mention, but like there's these 7 artifacts that are like, you know, forged from like a starstone or whatever it's called, and there's like the starstone axe, the dagger, whatever, necklace. There's a bunch of them. There's 7 of them. So the cauldron is one of them, and then there's this big culminating battle at the end. And this battle was sweet. This is really cool, where they start summoning some of the Catershim, like the demons or demonic angels, through the black cauldron, and they start possessing some of Nathair's men. And he kind of really starts to realize, like, ooh, maybe I'm the baddie, kind of thing. But yeah, the ending was great. So just to get into my overall rating, I really loved Valor. I gave Valor a 5 on Goodreads, but you know, I do my ratings in decimals, so I'm gonna give Valor 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. It was such a good book. I'm really glad like John Gwynne like stepped up the pace in this book, and it really gets me excited for Ruin. I really can't wait to read Ruin now. So that's probably gonna be coming up in the month of November. I'll read it at some point. But yeah, really like Valor. Really love Faithful and the Fallen. I'm glad I stuck with this series. Glad I just didn't put it down after book 1. And so yeah, you tell me what you guys think. Like, did you like Valor more than Malice? I know I did. So, you know, please comment down below, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.